All right, let's assess this thing. Alright, Series 11 is done. I am going to have later this week a ranking of my thoughts on the episodes, you know, ranking 1 to 10. Everything that went on this series. But first, I want to give sort of a more general overview of my thoughts on the series as a whole, because obviously I've been going episode by episode as it's gone along. And I've mentioned some of my overall thoughts in various episodes, but I kind of want them more collected and focused here. So, where do we begin? Well, let's start with Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. I'm officially fully on board with her. As I mentioned in my review of the series finale, it was literally the last moment of the last episode that got me to go like, I get it now. I got it. Like, I get her and I get what we're going for. And like, thinking on it now, like, it's not like she did something in that moment, which, if you haven't seen that episode review, was at the very end when she's like, you know, the universe can surprise you, you know, sort of that excitement, that joy in the exploration and what she might find, and sort of latching onto that. It's not like she didn't express that earlier in the series. It just didn't click for me as like being her thing. I think maybe partially because it's something that we've gotten glimpses of from other Doctors as time has gone on, but I feel like it's getting much more the focus here with her, and that sort of finally registered with me at that point. So I strongly suspect that going forward I will enjoy her more than I have been, because I feel like I kind of get her now. And that's cool and that's fun. And her performance has been good up to this point. It's been solid. But I'm more excited to see more of her than I am to revisit the episode she's already done. The three companions, I came away with exactly what I was afraid of. It's too many. And despite the fact that her one major highlight episode was one of the best episodes of the series, if you're going to tell me to cut somebody, I would cut Yaz. I think this is also part of the reason why it took me longer to connect with this Doctor than I think it probably should have, which is that with 4 characters in the TARDIS, 4 new characters, 4 people we've never met before, all sort of elbowing each other for highlight moments in character development. Ultimately, the most developed characters over the course of this series are Graham and Ryan. And that's not an automatic bad thing in and of itself, but it first makes me go, I kind of really wanted to get more of a highlight on this Doctor. And then, you know, Yaz, and again, she wasn't bad. And honestly, if we were in a situation where she was the only companion, I'd probably like her a lot. But there's something about her sharing the space with everybody else. She just feels the most superfluous. Graham I do like the best. And Ryan is the one I would like the least if it was only him. Like, I like Ryan because I like his dynamic with Graham, and I like the development of their relationship over the course of the series. But I don't like Ryan, especially in isolation. I like him kind of as a double package. So yeah, 3 companions I still say is too many. Now that we have kind of gotten a handle on all 3 of them and the Doctor, maybe it won't be too many going forward, but to have all of them show up at once and to have to be developing them in tangent with each other, I don't think that was a good call. I think it would have made a lot more sense if this series we did either only Yaz or only Graham and Ryan, and then added whatever one wasn't there at the beginning, either towards the end of this series or at the start of the next. I think starting with 3 companions, I think that was a mistake. But overall, my frustration with this series, because it has been a bit of a frustrating series, is that on paper, a lot of the decisions being made sort of at the 10,000 foot level and the big overarching decisions that Chibnall has made are ones that I like, at least on paper. Doing standalone episodes and not doing a strong a ton of emphasis on, look at the recurring thing we're gonna pay off across the series. Good. I'm so sick of those. Good. Awesome. No returning villains. Great. I need a break from them. Terrific. And then after that, we've got a lot more emphasis on the Doctor and the companions than on the Monster of the Week. Fine, Monster of the Week should not always be the focus anyway. Only like 2 actually episodes set on modern day Earth. Most of it is either in other time periods or off planet. Great, love that. The Doctor isn't constantly running into people who she's met before and they haven't all heard of her. Good. Awesome. So like there's a bunch of large scale decisions about the way the series went overall that I like, and yet somehow didn't result in a series that I would have expected to have liked as much, given that these calls were made. And I do think that it does come down to the episode by episode writing. To be blunt about it, Chibnall wrote the worst episodes of this season. And I think that's a bit of a red flag when your showrunner is producing the weakest writing. Now, that doesn't mean he has no value, because like I said, I think the larger scale decisions he's making are not bad ones, and potentially even very good ones, if executed on properly. But it really does feel like other writers are executing on these ideas better than he is. That said, and I have this as a fairly easy comparison to make, because in doing my overdue Doctor Who review stuff, I've fairly recently wrapped up doing Series 1. This series, in more than a few ways, reminds me of Series 1. Because, I mean, let's be honest about a few things there. The best episodes of that series were not written by the showrunner either. In both cases, one of the better episodes written by the showrunner was the finale. Although I do think The Parting of the Ways was better than Battle of the... whatever the heck it was. But I sort of feel the similar growing pains going on here that I felt from Series 1. Like, it's trying to get its feet under it, and it's trying something out that... And maybe, like Series 1 to Series 2, it'll recognize what wasn't working and shift accordingly. Because a lot of the most groan-worthy elements of Series 1 didn't carry over. The things like the plastic bin eating Mickey and burping, or the farting aliens, that kind of stuff was largely dropped. Like, a little of it showed up in Series 2, but then by Series 3, basically all that had been shed. And so, I mean, I'm kind of hopeful that might be the case here. Obviously, completely different showrunner. Chibnall is not Davies. So, like, I'm not going to say, oh, he'll do the same thing. I'm just saying I'm looking at the precedent from earlier series of this modern era revival and going, okay, there's a trajectory where this could get better. And yeah, that's sort of my big thing, is that, and I mentioned this already in my episode where I talked about the fact that Chibnall is coming back to do Series 12. And it's that I kind of want him to take a more supervisory role, like make the big meta decisions, because honestly I think the casting is solid, so his involvement for that has been fine. I think a lot of the large scale decisions, putting the classic villains on ice so that when they inevitably do come back, it'll have some more weight to it, hopefully. All those things are good, large scale, big picture decisions. Maybe just keep him from writing the actual scripts, because that does not seem to be his area. He seemed... See, and I worried this after having watched the first series of Broadchurch. Chibnall as a writer, not necessarily as a showrunner or a conceptual guy, but as an actual writer, seems to do best with relationships and character dynamics and interactions. Because even if you look at the Doctor Who episodes that he's written, that's usually some of the stronger stuff going on there. I mean, even if you think of something like The Power of Three, the ending is a complete cluster, but the dynamic going on between the characters is actually pretty dang good stuff. So, and that's kind of his strong suit, and it was in Broadchurch as well. And he got away with it in Broadchurch because it was in a not exceptionally remarkable mystery story where what was going to make or break that story was how good are these characters. Whereas here we're dealing with bigger sci-fi concepts, so we expect the stories and the plot mechanics to function better than he seems to be capable of doing. Because in his episodes, the character stuff has been pretty solid. And you know, different showrunners have different specialties, and that's been true before. I mean, Davies had a lot more emphasis on the emotional end of things. And whereas Moffat was much more interested in the plot mechanics and the way things fit together and sort of the possibilities of the sci-fi angle, whereas Davies, like I said, was a little bit more into the melodrama of it. One is not inherently better than the other, but each has their strengths, and it's best when they stick to that. Because, I mean, God's sake, when Moffat tried to do, like, dramatics and soap opera-y stuff, it was painful. Like, Moffat, go back to your, like, carefully constructed wind-up toy episodes. You're better at that. And I think the problem is, though, with Chibnall is that he hasn't seemed to have found a plot, an episode template that allows his strengths with character work to shine, but also enables him to get a decent actual story going. So, like, again, if I were to go back to Davis, who, like I said, I don't think was nearly as good at plot, and certainly not sort of the overall plot mechanics as Moffat was, but part of how he made up for that was by going for more operatic plotting, as opposed to sort of intricate, ooh, here's this sci-fi concept that we can do weird things with. He was more likely to go, here's this, grand epic thing. Let's go a little bit bombastic with it. Let's blow this stuff up. He's sort of going for scale and spectacle, and not even necessarily as a bandage or a way to cover up his writing, but just sort of as a way to facilitate what he was good at. And I just don't know if Chibnall, at least over the course of the series, has found a way to facilitate his strengths in a way that doesn't just counteract them. Because I do have to lay a lot of the issues on the writing, because I do think the casting is solid. I think the directing's been phenomenal. The music, while not nearly as memorable as Murray Gold's has been fine. It certainly does the job all right. And, effects have been good. Guest performers have all been good. But there's just something about a decent number of these scripts, and definitely the ones that Chibnall himself has written, that just isn't quite there yet. Like, the concepts are mostly solid, the progression for characters is good, but like it needs tightening, it needs punching up, it needs a go over by someone who can sort of goose the actual plot mechanics of it. And I'm not sure how to fix that. Other than, like I said, have Chibnall take a more supervisory role and not actually write as many scripts. But, I mean, they're going to have more time to work on the next series. So who knows? I'm definitely not abandoning the show. I don't know if where I would place series 11 in terms of like my rankings of series overall. I feel safe in saying it would end up bottom half. I don't think it's at the bottom, but it's definitely lower half as a series overall. Which again is frustrating for me because there have been good individual episodes and a lot of good general directions for the thing that just aren't panning out the way that I would like them to. That's kind of where I'm at with Series 11 on the whole. What do you think about the series overall? Just please remember, no personal attacks on me or anyone involved in the show. I will not only delete your comment, but if I catch you doing it more than once, I'll ban you off the channel because I just don't have time to keep dealing with that crap. But as long as you can avoid doing that, whatever your thoughts are, and you can disagree and think the show is not good, just be polite about it. Drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Whole bunch of stuff that you can do because there's buttons and there's links, including one to my Patreon if you feel like supporting me and this show in that way. If not, there's other links to check out. Don't want to click on those? That's fine too, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.